Hi there, my name is Andy Wagner and I'm an Executive Director at AAXIS Digital. I want to thank you for checking out our Oracle Commerce B2C Migration Playbook today. Our playbook aggregates 15 years of implementing and migrating Oracle Commerce and presents multiple ways of building flexible digital commerce solutions for the future. Now, you're likely aware of the discussions and open questions in the industry surrounding Oracle's future plans for their e-commerce platforms, and we're certainly hearing it amongst our own clients. So today, I'm joined by our head of engineering, Rajiv Hans, to help me address these discussions by walking through the current state of Oracle Commerce and where companies can go from here, including the sort of three main paths to get there. Hey, Rajiv, thanks for joining me today.
Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Let's start with a little context. I think it's safe to say the world has changed since most companies would have implemented Oracle Commerce or even ATG and Deca. The idea of digital business is far more pervasive today and impacts almost everything today. So it's kind of a different world. And so, ultimately there will come a point when companies decide it's time to migrate off of Oracle Commerce. Your experience, your conversations with customers, what do you think the most important factors are in making that decision? What are the pressures that are kind of driving those conversations?
Yeah, I think the biggest one to start with would be the lack of roadmap and the feature addition to the platform itself. It's been a while when the last set of features were added to it to make it consistent with what the business needs right now. The right next to it would be how much effort does it take to maintain your infrastructure. Most of the Oracle Commerce implementations are on-premise or in a data center, and does not currently use any cloud or any of the innovation that has happened in CI/CD, etc. So the cost of maintenance is high, probably because of the personnel involved in that. But then also, how fast can you change to adapt to business requirements from business? This has got to be it. Being a monolithic architecture, it's hard to change. It also requires a very specific skill set of the people that need to make the change. Changes are usually bigger, more error prone, take longer. Also, I would mention just the sizing, the way you plan for your infrastructure is based on the peak of your yearly cycles. So you're probably paying for the 3x the hardware you need to be, since it does not auto scale based on your demands.
Right, exactly. And so, everybody's going to be feeling this to a lesser or greater extent. But I'm guessing that, in addition to those topics, there's also this kind of business need that's evolved since that let's call it the golden age of Oracle Commerce. That's coming more from the customer side. Are you seeing that as well when you're talking to customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think since Oracle originally acquired ATG or ATG originally came to market, a lot has changed in the industry. Quite a bit of tooling, a lot new platforms and frameworks have come about. From a business standpoint, though, what's truly needed is a world-class experience that changes often, iterates often, but also touches on each of their channels, mobile, call center, etc. The current platform isn't well suited for building and fast iterating on such demands. Also, just the platform just misses on use of machine learning to optimize search, personalization, or any of such things. Things like you can't easily containerize and deploy the workload in cloud in a easy fashion. As I mentioned earlier as well, one of the core issues in meeting business demand is finding enough talent that speaks this language. Obviously, ATG and DICA developers are harder to find and retain. They cost quite a bit as well. Also, in general, though, the concept of agile, smaller teams, iterating independently and serving the business needs, that is a little bit harder to achieve on an architecture that's well suited for a single large team. So just the mismatch in architecture and also the mindset with the framework.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. So if I think about it and try and summarize all of this, there's like three key points we tend to discuss. One is that it's hard to innovate on Oracle Commerce at the pace that business needs. And then you have the issue of it's getting more expensive and definitely more difficult to either find or retain talent who know how to work, in the Oracle Commerce infrastructure. And then the last point that you mentioned at the top was that this kind of apparent lack of innovation on the core platform. So there's lots of pressures and probably at this point really, really good reasons to start considering, hey, what's the future look like? I'm not convinced Oracle Commerce is our future. So with that in mind, let's jump into the playbook. And as we were talking about, putting this together, what really stood out to me was the fact that there's really only three sort of approaches to migration, and people will fall kind of into one of these three approaches. So let me just, kick this off by saying, once you've made that decision, hey, we want to consider migrating, walk me through what are the options?
Yeah, actually, broadly speaking, we can bucket, as you said, in three categories. Let's start with the most obvious one. As a business, you can decide to stay on Oracle Commerce for another few years, or for whatever time period seems suited. But that's not looking into the future and preparing yourself for the next set of innovations. The next obvious choice is to move to another platform that's similar in functionality, but built in cloud and SaaS and more modern and fits into the business needs. The third option would be for the customers that have quite a bit built upon current infrastructure, or they're unique in their offering or business needs. And they may benefit by breaking up the system into many small systems and picking the right small system for each problem. Industry loosely calls it a composed solution. The underlying idea is modularity, but we feel this may suit the customers that are more complex in nature, or what they sell is of some inherent complexity.
Right, and it's probably more suitable for those people, those companies that chose Oracle Commerce, from the beginning, right? There was a reason for that. But I just I want to go back and ask you about the first option of staying on Oracle Commerce. I mean, we have clients now who are still running profitably on Oracle Commerce, but they've all sort of taken different approaches to staying on Oracle Commerce. What's that option look like? What's that approach look like?
Yeah, I think the simplest of that option would be to stick to the current data center provider and not do much. Right, it's the status quo, but I think slight re-engineering may help everybody, even if as a software platform you've decided to stick to Oracle Commerce. For example, lifting and shifting the entire infrastructure onto cloud and getting rid of the on-premise infrastructure would definitely help with the infrastructure costs, the kind of talent you need for that. They can focus on building faster rather than supporting a database, for example. In that process of lifting and shifting, some minor re-engineering can also be done to better use cloud infrastructure like load balancers, API gateways, etc. But it's really up to the vendor to see how much re-engineering effort they want versus lift and shift and just saving the infrastructure cost
Right.
is desired.
Right. Okay. So it's a good option if you're thinking about this in terms of saying risk, cost versus agility. You know, if you're on we want to protect risk and we want to tackle some of the costs, but we're not looking for a big heavy project right now.
Yeah.
Moving into the cloud is going to give you benefits, advantages, and reduce costs. So for that reason, it is a viable approach, one of the alternatives. Okay, so the last approach that you were talking about, where you were talking about modularity and the idea of agility, and the composable sort of approach, if you will. What does that look like? What are the benefit? What factors play into achieving that type of agility or that modularized approach?
Right. So the idea is based on the fact that a business isn't one entity. It may have many smaller sub-entities that control their own roadmap and have their own teams and their own competing objectives. The idea is to design software around your future agile org and fit better into that. And in that process, Indaka and ATG don't quite fit well because it is a single large piece of software that's built as one unit and deployed, shipped as one unit. The idea is to break it up into smaller pieces and let each team specialize in their own skill set or area of expertise. And that can be achieved by first using some sort of cloud, putting the workload onto cloud, adopting modern framework for front-end development. Right now with Oracle Commerce, the experience is embedded in the platform itself. I think it's an important step to separate that from ATG and DACA and deploy it using modern open source frameworks like React and Angular and such.
So that's that decoupling of the front end and back end that everybody talks about. Yeah.
Yes, correct. And also to deploy a front end that's not in ATG, we're going to need rich set of APIs that the platform naturally provides. This can be done using REST API, set of REST APIs, or an ATG module that bulk exposes graph set of endpoints serving all the needs. And these APIs can then be fronted by an API gateway in cloud to serve the UI. Even just this small balance of user experience living outside your core platform would allow business to iterate faster on the user experience, assuming the APIs themselves are fairly general purpose and provide most of the functionality.
Okay, excellent. Now, just before I forget, there's a link below where you can book time with Rajiv to discuss any specific questions you might have regarding your unique scenario. We're kind of being a little bit broad here because one size definitely doesn't fit all. But getting back now to the playbook, you've outlined the three main approaches to migration. We get it, the three big buckets, as I call them. The latter two approaches, shifting from Oracle Commerce to another platform, SaaS platform, we kind of get what that looks like. But the latter two approaches, I think, start with the first common step of moving things to the cloud, right? That's kind of like the prerequisite. So that first step, what's involved in that, and how painful is it?
Yeah. I think, as I mentioned earlier, the underlying software for Oracle Commerce wasn't designed for cloud. Obviously, we can lift and shift as is onto cloud, but that does mean not being able to use containerized workloads, for example. But having said that, though, if your ultimate goal in a few years is to move to something more capable or modern, then I think there are a sequence of steps you can take now to make that journey seamless. Obviously, the best time to replace digital commerce engine is when your current one is working good, and not waiting for the day it stops functioning. So in that stage, I think one could start with the prepare stage, where you build a set of APIs on your current platform and do a sample representative UI in a headless fashion. And this can be a native app or a desktop browser-based framework being built. In addition, if we are exposing APIs, we're going to have to talk about API security and deploying API gateways to save from misuse. But the objective of this phase would be an MVP that takes one of your modules of your front end and deploys in a headless fashion on cloud using your APIs exposed from your existing ATG and Endeka infrastructure. And this is to prove that it's the current team can actually migrate to a new way of thinking and also using new frameworks. This essentially is a retraining exercise for the team involved. So
sorry, let me just interrupt you there, because that's really interesting. Because one is the technology side of things, right? The APIs exposing, taking one piece. We're not going big bang here. We're going to slowly take pieces of the Oracle Commerce solution and do the MVP, but actually using that as an introduction to these new cloud paradigms for your developers or your external partner, if that's who you work with, is really, really important. Because I think what we've seen through the projects that we've done, the migrations we've done, that big bang approach, it doesn't work that well. And you need time to get your head around this.
Absolutely. And I think the approach to take here is of many small steps that are deployed and tested independently, and business measures the effectiveness of the change, and things should improve because we are deploying new tech, new ways of doing things. The experience should improve, but that should not be left to a chance, and should be A/B tested in each step. But following along on that thought, once you do have an MVP deployed in cloud that's using APIs and outside your Oracle Commerce, the internal team at that internal plus the vendor software integrator team combined should align themselves to future version of agile teams. And for each team and corresponding software, one should do piece by piece migration and testing of that to the cloud. And this can be done in two ways. You can continue to leverage the underlying capability from ATG and Endeka, or for that specific purpose, for as an example, if we're talking about identity and access management, one could migrate that to a SaaS-based platform and use that. And that choice should be made for each such module. And really the choice is stay on ATG, go to a SaaS platform, or if the feature being built is so unique to your business, then I think it should be built as your own intellectual property and own microservice that is deployed to cloud as its own first-class service. And each team should make the judgment call on each piece rather than making a decision at the entire digital commerce solution level, because there is no one software that will fit all the requirements.
Exactly, and I like the what you were saying. We've seen this happen many times in the past, that specific features, functions, capabilities that are sort of unique to your business or your processes that perhaps weren't a real true commerce feature, they still got built in ATG and Endeka or Oracle Commerce because there was no place else to put them. So, but moving into the cloud now gives you more opportunities to decide, hey, do we use Oracle Commerce? Do we put this in there, or do we build something on the side? So it it really gives you that natural starting point to put things where they should be, and to slowly move away from the core of Oracle Commerce.
Right.
So if I just back this up, I'm assuming then at some point we get to the last step where we cut the cord. And I'm assuming, in that case, you'll have some core functionality left in Oracle Commerce, which you replace that with another bought piece of software for that specific use case, or you build it yourself. But ultimately, you're going to get to a point where you can just retire Oracle Commerce, and everything else then will be in this new modern cloud environment.
Yeah, that's correct. In each team, looking at their own requirements, would decide whether search from Endeca can be replaced with search in cloud, a SaaS solution that actually utilizes machine learning to optimize as time progresses. That decision can be made per such microservice rather than the entire platform level. And it can even be done in a way where it's live A/B tested against your current and really test whether things improve or not. Same goes for personalization and the core commerce features. Each one may require its own specialized piece of software, but at the very least, at the highest level, we see user experience, DXP, CMS in one bucket. That's one suite of software. Personalization is another, search, core commerce, identity and access management, some sort of integration platform as a service component that ties everything, and then a suite of your own microservices that act as a glue and connect everything. And the UI, the user experience, is built on top of all of this.
Right, and is independent from that again. Right. Fantastic. Okay, so in this final section of our playbook that we've been discussing, we've looked at the common steps. Probably everyone will need to work through within their specific scenario if you're interested in that more modularized, modern approach to the future. But as I'm sure you're all aware, there are many factors that will impact the detailed sequence of events, and depending on your company's tolerance for risk and your desire for agility. So whether you'd like to understand more about keeping Oracle Commerce or have questions about this modernized modular approach, we're here to help you understand what these paths could look like for you. So as I mentioned before, please feel free to use the link below to organize a migration session with Rajiv to discuss your individual use cases. But until then, we thank you for watching our Oracle B2C Migration Playbook. Thank you very much.
Thank you.